Recording? Okay. You still look as pretty as ever. That is recording. And damn it, we got to get one of your kids or somebody to help you get you able to download these videos.
I know.
And if we just want to do it next time you come in the door and I do it for you, I will.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I can do the one kid.
I'm like a little kid, Schmidty. You're not gonna like when it comes to technology. I'm just like a little kid, like being led around wherever they go. I just go. I'm in a stroller, and I'm just being pushed. You know? Yeah. Just give me my bottle, and I'll be fine. I mean, but I don't. You know, I know what I know. I know what I don't know. Type thing.
You know your strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
You're not afraid of it. All right. I
So
haven't pressed record. I haven't pressed record on that
Okay.
yet. I've got it on up here and here.
We good? All right. Let's circle back, Schmidty, and get back to this gaming concept and the think tank aspect of it.
Yeah, I know you've got somewhere you need to be, so we'll try to clean it up.
I
and
want
make it
you
a
to
real
kind
short.
of set it up, but I really, as I said to you before, I need to think on that more.
Sure.
I need to give it some deep thought so that I feel like I can be a sounding board for you, more in an intellectual sense rather than just somebody hearing the ideas and like a deer in headlights.
What's a lot to take in first and foremost,
Right.
and it's overwhelming even whenever you
And
kind
I've
of
got
understand
so
it.
many questions and thoughts and concepts, and I don't want to dive down rabbit holes, and I want to try to stay focused like we're doing. So I think we've done very good today, and I think that if we continue along these lines, this is a pretty productive way of doing these conversations.
I do too. I do too. So I think kind of where we left it with the general concept of a think tank is outputting a data set to feed in something that we could trust into a different apparatus, right?
Right.
Something that you could go to if you just want to be able to say, I want to ask this question, and I want to be as close to whatever, and I can add my own layer of truth to that or not, right? And we want somewhere to send our kids to do that. So taking the next step in this think tank concept, I think we touched on it a little bit earlier about why don't, we're going to always need humans in these think tanks, I think, at least for phase 1, phase 2. At some point when we talked about Shawzie Revere, where he could create one or multiple versions of himself as an avatar, as a artificial intelligent person. I mean, he could necessarily insert himself into 20 or 100 different think tanks at some level, right? But that's a future concept. Let's not that's just kind of
That's the potential of where these gaming concepts can go to.
Folks, what we're trying to do is plant a seed for you to understand where we're thinking and why you might want to get involved.
Like
now,
we just said, we know there's a wheel. We know there's going to be a car. We don't know the way in between.
and we know we need talent.
Yes.
We know we need people that are experts in all kinds of different fields and topics to come participate in the launch of these think tanks. So part of this for me is recruiting. We haven't talked about that at all. We need people that are really highly intelligent or really passionate about learning more in any specific topic, right? And
open-minded.
And then they can come in and we can train them on what the game theory is and how it's going to evolve. That we'll have another podcast episode just to talk more about what that's going to look like. But if you're interested in what we're saying and you think you might want to participate at some level,
We'd love to have you.
We'd love to have you.
Great. And eventually, the concept is you don't have to come in and be around us. Eventually, you're just going to get on and boom, it's going to be a round table wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
So right now, because we're not massively distributing this information anymore, it's going to be us handing it to people. They're going to be able to hear this and say, "Hey, yeah, Shawzie, Schmidty, I get it. If this particular podcast is out there in the stratosphere a year or two from now, first of all, I think this is going to be an old topic at the time. But if they get on here, we'll leave links in the description to contact us where is best to contact us in that point in time, right?
Right.
Okay. So if you want me to get right back into the okay, so
I love it.
let's say you want to talk about a particular topic and we're building out this think tank game theory, okay? Excuse me. Let's say you want to participate in this particular think tank because it's a topic that you're hugely passionate about and you think it's something that you could bring enlightenment to the conversation and ask better and better questions and provide better outputs for your friends, family, and other people that are striving towards human flourishing, right? And we can pick a topic, say like so we've talked about COVID a lot. We've talked about vaccines. Let's say you want to participate on a vaccine efficacy think tank, and that would be a subtopic. And another think tank that we would have might be medical or health and wellness, or like literally what we're describing here is going to be thousands of different think tanks.
Right.
And it's going to start off with humans, and a year or 2 years from now, it's going to be more and more artificial intelligence with humans basically auditing it and making sure that we're keeping it on the rails, as it were. Like we always have to be the auditors and the owners of the information, the data that's going into the truth-seeking apparatus that we're going to put in front of our children.
Quality
and our
control
children.
and
We're quality
in general.
I think more of this, as it burns out, Shaw, is we are more of quality control agents.
Yeah.
And we're trying to learn, like AI right now doesn't have the ability to kind of force to express into the future as much as see everything that's going on around it, like overlapping of concepts and things. Like we're going to need people that are generally smart about things and able to see things and how they're evolving out there and then bringing it all together, right?
I mean, we're making fake brains.
Yes. So I mean, that's what this conversation is about.
Yeah.
Taking us where we are and
Yeah.
moving us to where we need to be,
Right.
and getting more people involved in that. Otherwise, if someone else is making these rules and
Right.
telling us how to do what we're getting ready to do, that's where potential for tyranny and not human flourishing, like
Right.
corporate profit.
The exact opposite of what we desire.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So we're gonna put you on a vaccine think tank. Okay. One phase of this, and this is a pretty complex, so I'm gonna get it as tight as I can because as I said, Toby's got to get out of here. So Toby's gonna sit at this table, and we're gonna pick, say, 6 or 8.
Sorry.
We're gonna pick 6 or 8 different vaccine experts. We're gonna pick 6 or 8 other general experts just of our choice that we would love to have as a sounding board, or maybe it's a human evolutionary biologist or something, and we want them coming in with some outside perspectives about how these vaccine questions may affect how we make our decisions moving forward. Like you just want to get as many variety of experts at this table as you want.
And now are they talking, Schmidty? That's what I'm like.
Yeah,
so
so
they get in there and they start talking and they.
So at some point,
exchange.
you're gonna have to have the topic of vaccine, and we're gonna what are the top 10 things that we want to talk about vaccines today? Like they're like
Right.
What are they? Here's the general layout of what this particular think tank topic is going to be for today, and we're going to ask it a series of questions, and we're going to utilize the 5, what we'll call them right now, artificial intelligence people, that maybe we'll create a avatar for these 5 vaccine people over here. They've written papers, medical peer-reviewed papers.
Right.
They've written books. They're on the know of what's going on. They've paid attention to all the things that have happened in the last 3 years, and they're giving us a real-time artificial intelligence, right? And so we plug them in. We plug in all these other people from varying different fields and technologies, and we ask questions, and it gives us outputs. That's part of it. And so the protagonists, the live people, will be basically asking the most important questions. And at some point, we're going to have a call-in method or a way to get questions from the outside to generate questions to this particular think tank and grow the number of questions that build the intelligence on it. But the goal, part of this game for me, and this is something that's kind of fresh idea. I've never heard it really talked about much, and I want actually a game theory think tank. I want an AI, so to build this game, I would like to have the smartest people that could help flesh out the concept even more. We're going to do it in a very archaic way. We're going to do it very fast. It's going to be like a phase 1 rollout. We're just going to get it out there so that way people can envision ideally, and then we can get.
You can't make it work if you don't try to make it work.
It's like this the first blueprint
Right.
of building a thing, and you're just going to be okay with moving lines and all that stuff. I've got
It's a rough draft.
I've got no rough draft is beautiful. So let's say we start it with where it is, and it's a virtual think tank, right? And the thing that I'm trying to get here too. So The game theory overlap to that would be, and pause with me. I'm gonna have to push pause.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna come back to it. I got distracted a little bit there.
It's all right.
This all just erases. Whenever I edit it, it goes away.
It's where you circling back to at?
Well, I'm just trying to get to what one of the key pieces.
Well, we talked about there be 6 to 8 vaccine experts, 6 to 8 other experts. The questions would be, we get input, the outputs would be where we're going, questions from the outside to grow intelligence, game theory, think tank, and the gaming concept.
Why am I drawing a blank on it? Oh, okay. Got it.
Right.
Mark.
All right.
Mark. Okay, so the idea is we've got all these people at the table, and we can put whoever we want at the table. It can be vaccine experts who lived through the worst periods of time and we've had the worst plagues and whatever, and we could take data and information from them. Obviously, they're not living, so they can't give us any real-time feedback, right?
Right.
This part of this theory is because of the speed at which I feel like we need to get in front of this is how do we get the most amount of people paying attention to the concept to either make it take off, maybe it's reasonable, it's a good concept, let's insert it into Truth GPT or one of these other things, right? So let's say whatever vaccine experts we have, we also are gonna put, say, a Joe Rogan on there, or I mentioned Brett Weinstein, or any doctor, Robert Malone, any doctor on either side of whatever, someone that's currently alive and active, say, on Twitter. We're going to insert questions. We're going to use this artificial intelligence think tank. We're going to build avatars for each of these experts based on the papers that they've created, based on videos that they've shot.
Right.
And
anything in the public realm that you have access to.
So
build out
it'll
the
be
knowledge
their
base.
general intelligence based
Right.
on what's online. The idea for me is we get new, and I don't want to call it provocative questions, but questions that take that last bit of information that is out there and tries to advance it towards something that's we can all use a little better, right? And let's say we've tagged 10 people that are high influencers online, right? And they're on this think tank. If part of this game for me would be we need a team of people that are writing stuff on Twitter and different social media platforms where these people engage with humanity and say, hey, we've started this particular game and we asked your virtual avatar that we created this question and this is the answer that we got. And we could do it could be an automated thing, or it could just be a really short summary linked here, check it out. The idea for that would be twofold. If we could get the smartest people on the planet that are connecting all these dots out there with all the things that are going on out in the world, basically it gets them engaged and helping us make the think tank better, right? That's part one. Part two is if a Joe Rogan or an Elon Musk or anybody in any of these particular topics were to get involved because of something they're interested in, they think the concept and theory is something that could help produce cleaner data sets for AI, then if they start engaging with us or give us the finger nod on Twitter, like Elon Musk retweets something, I mean, it gets like a million and something eyes and views and comments.
Right.
That's instant spotlight on that particular thing. And again, I just need to note here, people, this isn't about Chad Schmidt or Toby Shaw. This isn't about this idea is my idea and I'm trying to promote it as something I'm trying to make money off of. We're going to figure out ways to make money with how we're auditing it. I think when people are going to trust us to be a sounding board and looking at things. But I mean, we're all replaceable.
Yeah.
What we need a massive awakening. We need people unifying and coming together around the reality of that AI is changing everything and that it's rapidly evolving. And Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, all these people that are talking about all this stuff that's happening are all raising alarms that if we don't get in front of this, there's going to be a problem. But there's no plan. There's no team. There's no leadership. So this game basically is a step for me to get everybody talking about it first and foremost. Think of something that's engaging. How many people don't like playing games, right? Our kids, if it could turn it into a game that's something that could be fun, like this game could evolve into something that's more virtual and realistic, and maybe they're having conversations and just new things pop up and they want to insert that question into all these developing think tanks that are going on.
But wouldn't we also want to think, we circle back and you said, but wouldn't we also want to know how close the AI was to getting the answer
really good point.
Right.
Yeah. I think we talked about it a bit.
Right.
So I think so. There's different rating system and review systems that are out there. Platforms is a better word, I guess, to use. Like Amazon uses it. If you shop on Amazon, like you go to trusted sellers.
They've done 10,000 transactions.
So that doesn't really rely to this, but similar concept. Like, are you going to go to the person that's 100% satisfaction with they've shipped out 10,000 things? Or are you going to go someone that shipped out 3 things and they've got a 50% rating? Right. I mean, so there's some hybrid that, again, we need a think tank of developers.
But I would also like to know, like, what the actual, like, say you've got a avatar of Elon Musk, and you say this is what Elon Musk would say, and
it would be based on everything that he said online.
And then we would want to know, would you say this? Not only like, dear Elon, would you have said this?
Well, pretty soon, Elon, like we
and I
talked
think you
about
said, like, if he retweets it or something, that's kind of giving the implication that maybe he agreed with it, which is kind of coming to what you were wanting. But I just think that that's like a really cool concept of like, hey, we made a fake you using all this stuff out there that's about you. We asked it this very complicated question. It gave us this very intricate answer.
Weigh in.
Yeah. What would you have? Is this your answer, dear sir?
Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
And so, and what we alluded to it just a second in a earlier part of our conversation about you building your own avatar, and it's like you're going to own your own avatar, right?
Right.
And you will be able to replicate that avatar because it's not you. It's just it's a code.
Yeah.
Right. So effectively, Elon Musk will have his own avatar that he can at some point hand to us or some other group and say, I'm going to monitor this because this is a version of me. Yeah. And I'm going to participate at the level that my avatar can participate in this meeting. It'll raise red flags. It'll answer questions the way I would answer them, I think, and I'm always going to be keeping that in check.
Yeah.
So we're going to create a fake one of those, right?
Yeah.
Not to be duplicitous or claiming we are Elon Musk. None of that. I think that's wrong.
Right.
But this, again, conceptually, for a game perspective, is just to get us out of the escape velocity of everybody's confused, running in different directions. We don't have a plan. This, to me, is a potential just for everybody to sit down and say, and I want the top game expert. I want whoever can think of theories like this and create code and AI experts. I want those people actually looking at what we're saying here and turning it into something that I just want to be able to use it.
Right.
I don't want the rights to it. I think the truth-seeking apparatus has to be owned by all people. I think whatever podcast...
Owned by all or owned by none.
Well, I mean, the other thing that I'm working on here that we haven't alluded to, but is going to be a not publicly owned, employee-owned podcast network. So we're going to give people kind of the head seat at the table, give them the ability to get into a think tank and be a moderator, kind of like what you and I are going to work on in a future episode here. We're not going to get deep into that, but one of the next episode, folks, we're going to do is we're going to start a think tank. We're going to kind of lay out how it's going to work. We're going to do here's phase 1 and how it's going to work and what it looks like. And then we're going to invite other people and we're going to tag them on social and we're going to try to get involvement.
And try to show how it actually implements and works.
Hey, Mr. AI expert, or hey, Mr. Coding, you're Python genius. How could we build this review and rating system? We put this in the AI and this is the way we think it would be built. Or it may look like Amazon here or look like some of these other rating and ranking platform. And so we're creating, like, if you need somebody that understands what you're trying to get to, asking those questions, and then tagging the people that you think would give the best answer and engaging them in a game, and just, no offense to if Elon or any of these people watch it, just bug the shit out of you until you answer it.
Yeah.
Or we'll get another expert that said, I'm not Elon Musk and I'm not outwardly spoken, but here's what I know. I can give you this thing that I created and here's the solution. It can give us our ranking of what the truth is. It can, like, each individual person that sits at that table is going to have their own individual ranking, right? if you come to a table, Shawzie, and you prove yourself over time that you're asking great questions, you're pretty close to truth, like we can trust that what you're telling us isn't propaganda, it isn't tainted by you own stocks over in this thing, so you're trying to move the hammer or move the needle in this direction. Like, this system needs to be able to solve that in phase 1. Phase 2, as you and I talked about in a previous conversation, is quantum computing will necessarily be a built-in rating and review system that it will not be able to lie. Like, it will be it's hard to really say it, but future technology is you won't be able to clone or be a bot. I mean, there is one version of you, and it's an organic version of you, and that is coming. So all we have to do, folks, in this phase, getting to where the technology is here that helps us solve the problems, is avoid tyranny from above, tyranny from corporations taking over the idea and them creating the data sets that...
So we just got to avoid human nature, right, Schmidty?
Well, I mean, we need a think tank to talk about what that really means. I mean, so there's so many different topics. Again, there's thousands of topics. This idea in this game can literally be blown up. I have one concern of, before you and I started talking, I had kind of an idea to take these ideas to really, really talented people and just have them kind of buy into it, or raise enough money to get... Well, I don't know how you said it the other day, but that you got to raise enough money to talk to the right people to actually raise the money that you need to raise all the money for. So this, to me, is just really getting it. The original idea was just get in front of talent, and say, here's the vision. I don't care to own it. I just want smart people saying this is doable or this isn't doable, yes or no, and then who's the next person on the team? Okay, so if we want to build something that's owned by all people, that we addressed this particular topic a couple conversations ago about how do you set up an organization that's owned by all people? Like, what's that look like structurally from a legal standpoint? We don't need to get into the details of it. Let's get the smartest attorneys in this think tank and figure out what it looks like.
And the only thing I think of in the whole world that is even like it is the Green Bay Packers, and it's not even, and that's just
it's an agreement, isn't it? Like a verbal kind of thing. I don't know. Which it kind of needs to be. Like, this is a gentleman's agreement and a gentlelady's agreement.
It's kind of like when you go into political science 101. Here we are at the Truth 101 or Paul Revere 101 or whatever you want to call it. But there's like this contract with man, right? This concept that we let people lead us and we give them power, they give us power, we're both empowered. And all the different political bodies and the political ways of doing things, but at the end of the day, I don't know how you get to having any power and distributing and giving out power if you can't even figure out where the power derives from in the first place. And I think this actually is a way to get to...
What is trust, Shawzie? It's two people sitting in a room and you're looking at my eyes, I'm looking at your eyes. And when you tell me something, and we see this in interviews all the time. When you see somebody that's political or propaganda for one side or the other, they're asked a question, and you can tell by their answer that they have no intention of answering the question. That drives me crazy, right? It drives you crazy. So if you're agreeing to be in this think tank, one of our rules and axioms are going to be, if I don't trust your intent, and that you're not willing and open to get into this concept and idea with an open mind, a willingness to be wrong. In many cases, we both said we want to be wrong with many of the things that we believe. We want to have different options out there. To me, this is getting people back together and just having conversations. Like, I think we could have thousands of these podcasts with you as a protagonist on one side and me picking the topic, and then having a virtual think tank that we're talking about, and we're just sitting here and we've got maybe a couple people, a producer, somebody that's on a couple chat GPT computers or whatever the technology is, just asking questions and evolving the conversation in real time. Like, I want to take all the news cycles, all the different things that we're hearing, and basically say, I'm interested in following these 10 topics really fast. I want to go to this think tank theory, and I want to be able to pose questions to them and kind of enter it into the body of the questions.
This is the type of thing too that our government needs, like these House oversight committees. I don't want to beat a dead horse, and that's all you're doing when you talk about the government sometimes, but Schmidty, these people actually have some decent conversations. I mean, there are some pretty smart people that are senators. I'm not going to make a huge stretch with Congress people, but I have found some fairly intellectual people in the Senate, and I just think to myself, Just think if the senators, like say if 13 senators on the House Oversight Committee could just be asking this truth-seeking apparatus question, because like what struck me was when you said how people won't answer questions, and that is every witness that comes before the government. These people, it's the waste of our government's time. It's a waste of money. It makes you not have faith or trust in what they're doing because you don't believe the person delivering the message.
100%.
If you believe the deliverer of the message, which is what you're trying to create.
Shawzie, you just touched on something beautifully, dude. You reminded me of a conversation I had with a very smart guy. He was one of the first guys before you that I talked to about this concept. And he's done some things very similar. We're both very passionate about education reform. He's published hundreds and hundreds of videos in specific business realms and whatever, like not related to anything. But I basically sat down with him and I was just trying to bounce ideas off of people that I felt like could sit down with me and say, man, you're crazy, just stop. Like I've never had somebody 1 week really get to the nuts and bolts of what this thing is, say, what are you even talking about? It's always like, this might actually work. And whether it does or not,
Right.
We don't know yet. This guy, and this is, I just want to kind of wrap up this section because you talked about political stuff, and I purposely am going to stay mostly out of political stuff. The right and left thing is division to me. Every public policy thing that goes through Congress or local processes to become law, to me, should become their own topics in a think tank. And let me get to the output, what the output is, Shawzie. Let's say that we have, I don't want to mention our city because it's irrelevant. I don't want to talk about where we're from, right?
Sure.
Let's say we're in a town of 150,000 people, and we have a representative think tank of policies that are being considered for our small region. And each of these things are something that are going to be inserted into a think tank. Each individual person, right now, we could create avatars for every person living within the voting segment, and if they choose to engage in this think tank, or 100 deep of think tanks, and that's a whole nother theory we're going to talk about, how these think tanks are going to come up and down.
So you're like talking original democracy, like Athenian democracy,
so
like where every single person voted on every single thing. So
just bear with me.
Right? I mean, right?
Bear with me here.
Okay.
So I don't know if I should say this out loud. There's a concept out there, and I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy Sean Collins. If we have a representative think tank and these ideas come through, you're necessarily going to get everybody's opinion and up and down vote or questions that are going to provide data, and it's going to be every politician in that region. If we say, here's what is important to us, here's the things that we're going to vote people in and out on, your responses and how you vote in and out on these things is going to be held accountable in real time. No political hackery, no whatever, propaganda people, the people that are spouting
spin
their trust on how they're engaging and having conversations like this. It's a mayoral debate, and they're talking about and
it's not a plus or minus thing either. The way you're saying it, Schmidty, is it's straight up. This is the numbers. It ain't plus or minus. This is it.
And we can sell that information back to
the
schools or the governing bodies. Most importantly for me, and one of the things you and I know will agree on, is just holding politicians and people accountable to what they say they're going to do. There's one of these things for money, and where the money is and isn't, and there's those things don't go away. Like money is data in a system, in a computer, and if we force our system to be transparent about where that money is and isn't at any time, technology is coming for that.
Yeah.
The reason why this technology is so disruptive and AI experts want to stop it for a period of time is because people haven't thought about these ideas this deeply to know just how quickly things will necessarily change. Like we can't conceptually wrap our mind around it until we can sit at this table like you and I just have. You can think about the idea and how that might, like, I know you're not a computer genius. I know you're not a coder, but I know you have intellect and logic, and you can't sit here and look at that and say, well, why isn't that possible? That to me is the solution to our democratic challenge that we have right now. Like, don't know who to trust, don't know where things are going, don't know where money's going.
And it brings literally democracy in a full circle, brother, because democracy started out as like actually you voted on everything. I mean, like the true first democracy, because it was just a little bitty city.
And guess what? It's not. It's not right versus left.
No,
it's not you voting on
these
eight things.
It's not a Republican Democrat issue. It's just an issue.
You're not under the R umbrella because you believe in these 4 things.
Right.
Or you can't be in this group because you believe in this thing over here, so you're an outcast. No, you're an individual, and it's a topic by topic by topic by topic.
Right. And so I can be Republican in one thing and Democrat in one thing and independent on another, and Republican on another, Democrat on another, even because, which is impossible otherwise. I can't go out and say, hey, I believe these 10 topics, the Democratic Party believes in 5 of them, and the Republican, it's on the Republican platform half, Democrat half. Well, what does that make me?
Well, what this puts you at a board, if we can force this in a way that's constructive, we can put all of our politicians in a think tank.
Yeah.
And each one of these issues that they're addressing, they're basically giving input.
And then we can give like weight to issues, like what means the most to the voting public, right? Right? I mean,
it's unlimited. Like this is a whole think tank
and a whole
conversation.
other rabbit hole thing. But this is what we're going to.
This is the actuating thing of.
And what we're doing right now is what we hope other people will do when they hear these ideas, right, Schmidty?
Yeah.
People hear you talking about this, see how I react, and then boom, this is what we're hoping for as a reaction from others. This is how we hope to draw in participation from other people. This is the means and method that we hope to be able to create these think tanks. We want people to participate in this and bring their own selves to it, but of their own free will. Like, we want people participating because this interests you and this has sparked your interest. And I'm a big proponent of getting smarter every day. You and I have talked about that, but this is an intellectual endeavor of.
Well, we didn't talk about it in the beginning. Well, we talked about it in the beginning of why I started this, and I didn't. I was going to link out to a video that basically says here's why, but like I gave a few polls in one of our first conversations of, 8 out of 10 people don't trust the government to do what's right in any given situation.
Right.
84%, according to a Gallup poll, that believe the media divides us, that they are to blame for dividing the country, and over half of all people don't trust election outcomes. Right. So I'm not suggesting we go and we try to remake the Constitution right now. I'm not talking about going and pointing a finger at this politician or that politician. How about if we just go around and we say, here's the system that we've thought about and this is our game. And if the people can say, we agree to this game, we don't need the politicians and the government to say, well, we're not playing by that. Well, guess what? If you're not playing by that and this is how we're electing people, the people that come into it and say, I swear an oath to be held accountable to these conversations and the will of the people based on these conversations that are had in a transparent way, and I know that I'm going to get voted in or out based on my willingness to look at my people that I'm swearing an oath to protect my constituents. I know that I'm going to be held. How often are we going to have a conversation with them? How often are we going to gauge where they're on it? I don't know. We make that up.
I like that. But I also don't like mob rule, too.
No, it can't be.
You know what I'm saying?
No, so I mean, we've talked about
that. Becoming mob rule, so there's got to be.
So again, I'm not the structural piece of it. I believe in the electoral.
But I'm sure that if somebody heard us talk about that, they would immediately say that.
Guess what we're going to do, Shawzie? Right. We're going to create a think tank to actually work that concept out. Right. We're going to invite people that have thought about it from any side
everywhere,
from any side of the thing. I just have a vision for something, and it's something I've heard from someone else. I didn't just create that out of thin air. But that's how the general intelligence thing of how we all need to be working towards. Like, we got to look at everything around us, take this concept and see if it works for us. And I believe it did. And I think we've done a pretty good job today of going from nothing to kind of visioning it. I think.
Well, I'm hoping that our discussion that we've been able to have here today will promote the ideas that you're trying to get across, and also bring up in people questions of their own that they would like to ask to you, and hopefully that brings them to the think tank. And
they can ask me the question, or I would rather them
ask them your avatar.
Come be a participant.
Please.
Like, we're gonna pretty soon. I mean, one of the next recent episodes.
I'm sure we'll be able to link to things and
Me
whatnot, right?
and
Schmidty?
Shawzie are going to probably come up with 10 big topics.
Yeah.
Like, here's the big truth-seeking apparatus is, here's what this thing looks like and how it's going to work in phase one. First phase is like, let's run some tests of these different think tanks, and we can have multiple think tanks on the same topics with different people managing them.
Right.
And there will be some competition about whose think tank is better than the other. Create some tension and friction in there,
Well,
right?
competition.
That's part of a game theory we don't have time to talk
right.
about today. That's something that we've thought about that we can talk about in a later episode. So there's ways that you'll be able to come into a think tank at the lowest level, and we're going to have like a head table number one on this particular topic, right? Because they're the smartest. They've given us the best outcomes. They're the most trusted right now.
Right.
But you as a beginner, you could come in the most well-read person and asking better questions and work your way closer and closer to that top and get that seat.
Right.
We need to figure out a way how we incentivize people to do that.
Yeah.
And there's some ideas on the table now that we can talk about later. I'm just trying to put some seeds out there that people like to get engaged and just get involved in the conversation and be a part of it.
Right.
We need help. We need talent. We need people on think tanks. We need graphic designers. We need video. We need all these things, right?
So if you can help us, we'd really appreciate it. And any involvement, it's going to take everybody being involved for this to be successful. And without participation, well, it doesn't even get off the ground. So it needs everybody. So
well,
we
theory,
could,
as a devil's advocate there, we can make it all virtual.
Yeah,
we can make it all
have
virtual.
avatars.
But that's not.
But that wouldn't have the human auditing aspect of it that we desire.
The whole thing of this is unity.
Right.
The whole thing is not some guy sitting in a basement and creating this thing, because guess what? He's the tyrant.
And it made me just think eventually, Schmidty, like a science fiction movie, eventually humans are going to have to work with androids or robots or
it's coming.
And there's going to be eventually humans that are hybrids, be it because they've had, like, say you were concussed, or you were in a car wreck, a part of your brain, or not just prosthetics.
There's a lot of great things that can be done.
I believe this is leading us to prosthetics for the brain,
for sure,
if that makes sense.
For sure.
Right?
Oh,
but
there's experts out there that
right?
are talking about it, and I'm highly interested in it.
I am too.
I'm just not an expert. I want that think tank, and I just want to be an outsider. Like, what are they talking about today?
And that's what we're talking about, folks. Those are the type of think tanks that can come up with, right, brother?
Well, and the people watching, even if you don't want to get involved in a think tank, I mean, the idea is you keep watching, and you focus on, like, there will be a channel for each think tank.
But surely,
so you can monitor. You can look in and say, "Hey, you guys missed something here." And you can give input.
It goes back to my concept of education. Everybody's smart about something.
Yeah.
What is it they're smart about?
We're just not very good at picking it out.
Let's just let them find it and go.
The AI education revolution to me is most exciting.
Could be amazing.
It's most exciting.
Well, hey, brother, this has been very good.
I'm pretty pleased.
I'm Shawzie.
Schmidty.
Good stuff, brother. Well done.
Thank you, brother.
Good stuff.
Talk soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Dude, you see what I'm saying? Like, I felt like we need to evolve that conversation to something tighter.
I think that was tighter.
Without talking about China and this particular one.
No, that's right. No,
like just,
I get it. I like that.
Let's get.
I think that was perfect.
And then we can do another when you're feeling better and